This is the Puritan Pulpit. I'm your host, Nick Reddin, bringing timeless Puritan sermons from the past to inspire today's Christian. Welcome to the Puritan Pulpit and today's minicast titled The Puritans vs. the Megachurch. I'm your host, Nick Reddin. Before we jump all the way into this, it is important to note the weight of what we're discussing today. We're looking at the modern church, specifically the megachurch, through the lens of the Puritans. And why are we doing this? While I definitely have my thoughts, I thought it'd be interesting to see what the Puritans have to say, as their question would be, is what we are seeing of God or is it of the world? We know from Scripture that friendship with the world is enmity with God. We're antithetical to the world, and the world is antithetical to us. Yet, we see a model of church today that looks exactly like the corporate world. Massive numbers in the tens of thousands, CEO pastors, and consumer-driven programs and ministries. So, the question we're going to unpack today is this. Would the Puritans consider these churches biblical when the pastor does not know the sheep and the sheep have no access to the shepherd? The Puritans, men like Richard Baxter and John Owen, would say no. They would say that when a church grows so big that the pastor cannot know the names of his people, it ceases to be a flock. It becomes a multitude. And I want to be clear. This isn't just about logistics. This is about the care of your soul. First, we have to define our terms. What is a church? The world defines a church as any religious gathering, but the Puritans had a vigorous bibliology. They looked at the word, and for them, the local church was defined by very specific capability. The phrase to look at here in the Greek is epe to auto. It means together in the same place. John Cotton, one of the great minds of New England, argued that a church is a communion of saints meeting for that end into one congregation. Now don't miss this. Cotton and John Owen alongside him argued that if a body cannot meet in one place, it is not a church. Owen called it nonsense to speak of a church that cannot assemble. Now apply that to the modern day. We have multi-site campuses, we have video venues, we have people at the 9 a.m. service, 10 a.m. service, 11 a.m. service who will never see anybody at the 1 p.m. service. If we apply the Puritan metric, this epe to auto, these are not churches. They are disjointed members. They are a monster body. And the Puritans use this monster metaphor because they view the church as a living organism. If parts of a body cannot come together, communicate, or see one another, that body is not healthy or natural. It is a monstrosity. So why were the Puritans so adamant about this? Was it about building codes? No, it was about the covenant. In the Puritan mind, the church is a covenant community. We are to watch over one another. We are to bear one another's burdens. But, and here is the reality, you cannot watch over someone you do not know. In a crowd of 10,000, mutual watchfulness is a natural impossibility. And where there is no watchfulness, there is no safety. This brings us to the second point, the pastor's capacity. And we need to look at Acts 20:28, where it says, "Take heed, therefore, unto yourselves and to all the flock." The word all carries heavy weight here. Richard Baxter wrote a book called The Reformed Pastor. He didn't just preach, he catechized. He met with families and he did the math. He realized that to truly pastor 800 families, about 2,000 people, was a crushing weight. Baxter said something that we need to hear today. He said, God will not lay upon us natural impossibilities. He won't ask us to jump to the moon. He won't ask us to number the sands of the sea, and he won't ask a pastor to shepherd a flock so large that he cannot know them. But today, we have pastors claiming oversight of 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 people. And from a Puritan perspective, this is dangerous. When a pastor claims he can shepherd 10,000 people, he's acting like a momentary atheist. He's acting as if he has the attributes of God, omnipresence and omniscience. But he doesn't. He is a man. Now, I know what many of you are thinking right now. You're thinking, but wait, we have multiple pastors. We have a staff of 50. We have campus pastors. The senior pastor doesn't have to know everyone because the staff knows everyone. This is the most common defense, but does it hold up to the Puritan critique? Actually, the Puritans dealt with this exact issue in their battle against the Church of England. They called it prelacy or non-residency. If your senior pastor preaches to 10,000 people but delegates the actual care to lower-level staff, the Puritans would argue that you haven't built a local church, you've built a diocese. In that model, the senior pastor isn't functioning as a pastor anymore. He's functioning as a bishop. He's ruling over the priests, the staff, who then rule over the people. The Puritans explicitly rejected this tiered hierarchy. They argued for the parity of ministers. They believed the man who feeds you the word should be the man who knows your soul. Think about the multi-site model. You have a campus pastor who visits the hospital and does the funerals, some of the, what we would call grunt work maybe, while the celebrity pastor appears on a screen. The Puritans viewed this practice as soul murder. They called it non-residency. It means holding an office but not living among the people. Thomas Gattaker, a Westminster divine, refused to have charge over two congregations at once. He believed that one man could not at the same time discharge his duty to two separate congregations. So, simply adding more staff doesn't solve the theological problem if the primary teaching voice, the one, quote, feeding the flock, is disconnected from the life of the flock. John Owen argues that a pastor who does not know the specific state of his flock preaches at random. Even if he has 50 staff members telling him what's going on, he doesn't know. He is still beating the air, delivering a generic message to a crowd of strangers rather than a specific prescription to a family he loves. So, the multiple pastors argument doesn't fix the issue, it just bureaucratizes it. It replaces the shepherd with a corporation. Now you might say, but look at the fruit. Look at George Whitefield. He preached to 30,000. And, we do have to be careful here. We cannot let pragmatism interpret Scripture. We must let Scripture interpret our methods. Whitefield preached to thousands, yes, but he was an evangelist. He wasn't their pastor. He admitted he was weaving a rope of sand because he wasn't organizing them into local churches where they could be watched over. The modern megachurch pastor is confusing the role. He gathers the crowd like an evangelist, but he takes the title of pastor. This is a deception. It is friendship with the world in the sense that it adopts the world's metrics of success. Bigger is better, growth is good. But God opposes the proud. He gives grace to the humble. And sometimes humility looks like splitting the church. It looks like planting a new congregation so that the shepherd can actually know the sheep. So where does this leave us? The Puritans viewed the world as a dangerous place filled with roaring lions seeking to devour. The pastor's job is to be the watchman on the wall. Hebrews 13:17 says leaders must watch for your souls as they must give account. The conclusion of this topic is somewhat sober. If you're in a church where the pastor does not know you, you are, in a very real sense, an unwatched soul. You have no one who will answer for you on the day of judgment. Richard Baxter warned that excusing this negligence because the church is just too big is simply, quote, excusing one sin with another. The Puritan verdict on the modern megachurch is that it trades the glory of holiness for the glory of numbers. It prioritizes the reach of the institution over the cure of the soul. If we want to build churches that are truly biblical by this standard, we don't need better management software, better video feeds. We need more shepherds, smaller flocks, and a return to the hard, unglamorous work of knowing the sheep by name. This is the Puritan Pulpit. Thank you for listening, and I pray that God blesses you in your walk with Christ. Thanks for joining me on the Puritan Pulpit. I'm Nick Reddin. Until next time, may these Puritan voices from the past continue to stir your faith today.